What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about all the steps involved and parts involved in manual swapping your 996 911. For reference, this is a 2001 model year Carrera 2. So this is a rear-wheel drive Carrera with originally the 3.4 flat 6 in it. But if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that we've ditched the 3.4 and went with the 6.2 LS3. As you can see, no longer a 3.4 flat 6. It is now a 6.2 bald eagle machine that doesn't drive. But that's because we're still in the middle of the swap, but we are getting close. But back to the manual part of this video. I'm going to start explaining it to you guys. Steps involved, parts needed, basically also the cost involved with doing this. It's kind of simple, actually. It's probably the simplest part of this build. So let's get straight into it. All right, so first things first, you obviously need a transmission. So I believe with different model years, they have different options. I think I have a transmission or a manual transmission, 6-speed, from a 2002 Carrera. And of course, you're gonna need to get a clutch, pressure plate, and if yours is originally automatic, you're gonna have a flex plate. You need a flywheel. So either you can buy that stuff new or used. I definitely would not buy it used, but if you're on a budget, get some that have light wear, low miles on them. Also, you're going to need clutch cables. You're going to need these guys right here. These are the clutch cables. They're routed right over here into this little tunnel. You need the I don't know the technical name for it. It's escaped my mind right now, but it is the gear selector box. Obviously, you need a shift knob. And yeah, just be aware that with these cars and with their age, these shift cables do deteriorate over time. So they become weak. It's supposedly very common within the community. I did not know that before I bought these shift cables. I got them for like maybe $100, so it's not that big of a deal. But just be aware of that. If you're doing the swap, you're probably spending the money anyways. You might as well buy some numeric racing shift cables or something along those lines. I will be getting those down the road, you know, just saving money and building this as we go. But there you go. So you need the manual trans, flywheel, clutch, pressure plate, gear selector box, clutch cables, or I'm sorry, shifter cables. And as well, you need quite a bit of line. So the clutch line is broken up into 3 different pieces, from the master cylinder to the slave cylinder. There is this one line right here that goes, let me show you where it is. It is under the plastic trim over here. And if you have an automatic, these are gonna be grommets right here. There's not gonna be anything passing through here. It's gonna be a grommet right here, and this grommet that is right there as well. No holes in them, no nothing. Since I am doing this manual conversion, I removed this grommet, and this one I drilled a hole through. This is the blue line, the first one you need. I got this from DC Auto. They are a dismantler for Porsches, I think in North Carolina. I was referred to them by Tyler from CPE. So you need that line. Then you need this line over here. This line basically runs the span of the entire car, goes all the way back there to the transmission tunnel, and then from there you have one more line. But to get this line into this area of the vehicle, you either need to disassemble the fitting on the end because it will not fit through that hole, or you can do what I did and get a funnel bit and just drill the hole a little bit larger. You're gonna have to repaint it a little bit just so it doesn't corrode and rust, but honestly, that's the easiest way. It's not gonna affect the integrity and structural integrity of the vehicle. So that's the way I would do it. But then, like I mentioned, clutch line runs down the span of the vehicle. all the way back. You're gonna have to remove all these panelings to run it, by the way. You can kind of see right there. Keeps going all the way. And here is the clutch line from under the vehicle. It runs all the way under and all the way up to here. And it does use factory mounting. They use the same retainers from the auto to the manual. There's just an open space. I'm sure that's just for cost savings. But here as well, I have this stainless steel line I got from CPE. It's for the slave cylinder, which is mounted right there. And here is the manual trans. But yes, once you get to over here, there's the third line. That just bolts up straight to the slave cylinder. It's actually pretty easy job, guys. It's not that bad. So while we're down here, let's talk about the trans mount setup. The automatic trans and manual trans have the same mounting hardware and same brackets. There is this bracket right here, which is under the vehicle. It has 4 mounting bolts and nuts. And then it has the vertical support. And you can see they're kind of sandwiched together. And this bolts up right there. And also you can see the shifter cables where they come through. They mount to the trans right over here. Now let's talk about axles. The automatic axles are shorter. The manual ones are longer. It's pretty simple. Just buy them and swap them out. And get new hardware as well. I'm pretty sure they have, or they are torque to yield, or they at least have an angle on them, so I will be replacing the hardware as well. I think these axles are like $200 used for the pair of them. So yeah, you're gonna need the longer axles, and I will show you guys what the automatic ones look like so we can compare them a little bit. And here are the automatic axles. Significantly shorter, so you're definitely gonna need the manual ones. Here is the automatic brake pedal and supporting rod. So I'll have to show you guys the interior of the vehicle as well for that. And here is the Tiptronic / automatic box or shifting box. Also, I don't know who's gonna buy this, but maybe you'll get lucky. Now I'll show you guys the interior of the vehicle. As you guys can see, it is now a 3-pedal car. This is the situation we got under here. So, as far as I've seen on the forums and everything, everybody talks about removing the whole dash to do this. Even Tony Angelo's video with his power kraut, as he calls it, they removed the dash, I believe. So, you don't have to, contrary to belief. Take a picture of your relays and how they're situated, and then remove them all. Now, I say this because you need to get this whole assembly in there. And from my experience so far, the easiest way to do that is by not removing the dash, because that is very time consuming and just a pain. So just remove those relays like I mentioned, and you're going to install the rod, that one up there, install it, start pushing it through, and once you get to over here, put up your brake pedal. You got to put the brake pedal in through that rod as well. There's going to be a nut right there, as you guys can see. That's going to thread onto the end of the rod. Then you'll have this end of the rod. I'm sorry. There, you can see it. That rod from there to like over here is going to be available. You're going to slide on the clutch pedal and its assembly, its bracket, at the same time. So you can either just start the bracket, only put on the left side of it, and then put in the pedal, or you just put it all as one. Once you get that on, there's these bolts right here. They are M6x1 nuts. You need to put those on. I have 2 on there right now. So one right here, and one more up here. That's going to hold the clutch in place, or the clutch frame in place. Going to mount it much better and much more secure. As you can see, we have this master cylinder over here. It has 2 bolts. I believe they are 10 or 13 mil, I forgot. but they just bolt through here to this bracket. They bolt right there, and like I mentioned earlier, the blue line goes through over here, and then there's one black line on top of it. Can't really show you guys, but there is a black line on top that goes to that top hole over there. It's a very small hole. That black line goes on top. Very simple, very easy. Connect it to your clutch pedal. You're gonna have a pin. It's gonna have a retaining clip. I have not installed that yet. It's giving me a hard time, but you're gonna have that as well. There is a clutch pedal sensor. I'm sorry, clutch pedal switch. I have opted into not wire that in. It's just gonna be a pain for me, and I don't know, I just want to be able to start my vehicle from the outside. Just like roll down the vehicle or the window and start it without holding down the clutch so I can warm it up in the morning. So I opted in not to wire that. Do as you wish if you do. There should be some wiring diagrams in the swapped Porsche group on Facebook. I added some in there for a 2001 model year since I couldn't find any online. If you need those, you can reference them there. So just search my name, you'll find them. Clutch pedal spring. I've talked to multiple people. Some people like it, some people don't. I bought it. It was like $60. I'm just going to try it. If I like it, I'll keep it. If I like it without it, I'll just take it out and disregard it. Probably just put it to the side. Now, of course, this was originally an automatic. So the instrument cluster still shows it's an automatic. There's multiple ways to go around this. I know some people that have just either replaced the entire instrument cluster or they just replaced this frame of it. They replaced the paper piece, the tachometer, whatever you want to call it. They replaced that so that way they don't see the flashing light freaking out that it's in drive in fourth gear because it can't talk to the automatic transmission because there is no more automatic transmission. You can code it out, I believe. I will link the forum down in the description, the one I've been reading and referring to. But yeah, since there is no more park neutral safety switch, the car's not going to start, guys. So even if you wire in the clutch pedal switch, I don't believe it's going to start. You need to tap in to your ignition, I believe, or starter relay. Ground it out. I just have mine grounded right there. Probably not the best ground, but hey, it's working. The car cranks. If you have a aftermarket ECU like I do, I'm using a GM ECU, GM E38 ECU. You don't have to worry about coding the car or anything. I mean, this car's pretty sacrilegious at this point. So completely forgot to mention the reservoir. It shares fluid with the brake system. So the brake system gets its fluid from right over here from the master cylinder, and the clutch system gets it from over here. It has this nipple on it. You push in this line into it, and there's this grommet over here. For the automatics, there's no hole there. You got to drill it out. So I drilled it out. I ran the hole or the line through there, connected it to the top of the master cylinder. That is the feed port or the feed line. Then when you press and actuate this master cylinder, it sends the fluid through this bottom port or bottom line through here all the way back to the slave cylinder. And that is what actuates and disactuates, engages and disengages your clutch. Overall, pretty easy, guys, pretty simple. Do not be fooled though. There is multiple reservoirs out there. The first one I bought was this one. It has the fitting, but it also has an extra fitting, I believe, for Porsche stability management system, something along those lines. The automatic reservoir the vehicle came with, oddly enough, has the port, but it is not a through port. It is just blocked off from the factory. I guess it's just to save material and designing resources. So you are going to need to get the manual reservoir. I have not been able to find them anywhere online for whatever reason, so I just bought mine straight up from the Porsche dealership. And if somehow you have not noticed, you are going to have to remove the center console and quite a bit of the rest of the interior, at least the driver's seat, if you want to comfortably get down there for the hour or so that you are down there figuring everything out. I completely forgot to mention there is one cooling line you have to replace. This cooling line, I believe, comes from the left coolant line of the engine bay and goes down to the trans tunnel. It has this T-fitting where it goes to cool the automatic transmission. You don't need that anymore. There is a line down there now for the manual transmission. It's basically the same thing, it just does not have this T. You need to get that part. I'm gonna put the part number down below. You guys need to get it regardless. All right, now time to go over all the pricing and items, just once and for all. So you need the trans. It's about $2,500, that's how much they're going for. Flywheel, clutch, pressure plate. Depends what you guys do. If you want my setup, I got the flywheel and the clutch assembly from CPE, specific for the LS to the G96 transmission. That was $1,700. Master cylinder, $60. Slave cylinder, $131. Coolant lines, around $100 for those. For the 3 clutch lines, it's about $800. Clutch pedal assembly, $127 for what I got. Spring for the clutch pedal, $60. The brake fluid reservoir, $60. Shifter cables, depends with what you go with. If you get the stock OEM ones used, it's about $120 to $200. If you get numeric racing, I believe they're around $400. I'm gonna upgrade to those later. Gear selector box was $130. Axles, $200. And this is dependent on if you want to do it or not. My specific situation, I don't have to. I probably might change out the instrument cluster fascia for a manual one later on, but that's completely dependent on what you want to do. So for the things I listed, it's about $4,100, $4,200 without your flywheel, your clutch, or your pressure plate. That's without that. So if you want this exact setup, how I have it right now, it's gonna cost you about $6,000. So is it worth it? That's 100% dependent on your car, your situation. If you've done a bunch of maintenance to your car and it's a Tiptronic, it's probably better just to manual swap it than to sell it and go buy a clapped out manual car. So in my situation, I'm LS swapping it. I want it to be rowdy, want it to be fun. So I was left with no choice except for to manual swap it. So I hope this video was informative. If you guys have any questions at all, comment down below. I'll get back to you guys as soon as I can. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and share this video with anybody that has a 996, 997, and that you think should manual swap it. See you guys in the next one.